I'm the chief investigator of the ARMTech project, which is an acronym for the Advanced Livestock Measurement Technologies project. The DEXA system is one of the key technologies within that program. A company called Scott Automation and Robotics, they had an X-ray imaging system, and they approached us to see whether or not we could work out how fat an animal was using what they already had installed in plant. Now, the way that they were using it was to image carcasses, and then from that you would work out the skeletal structure. And from the DEXA image, you could work out where to cut it really precisely. So they wanted to know, could they estimate fatness from that? And they couldn't. So that's what actually led to the DEXA research specifically. We changed the imaging system, in effect. And it's all about X-rays passing through those carcasses. It doesn't make the meat poisonous or anything like that, but it does give you an image that you're able to determine the percentage of fat within the carcass from. So measuring the fat in the carcass is really important to consumers. When we buy meat, we don't like the fat. We actually cut it off. And in effect, that represents wastage. So if you're cutting fat off meat, it took money to grow that fat in the first place on farm. That's a wasted resource. So it's quite crucial to select animals for reduced fatness, and that itself has quite a serious value. The DEXA system is currently being rolled out across Australia, and it's about to have quite a big impact on the lamb, particularly the lamb industry within Australia. By the end of this year, I anticipate that there will be 5 DEXA systems installed within Australian processing plants in pretty much all of the southern states of Australia. That collection of processes occupies around about 50% of all of the lambs processed in Australia. So in effect, we're scanning half of what's out there using this system. The DEXA system is one technology being developed by the ARMTech project. There are a whole array of different technologies that we're working on simultaneously. We're also working on cheaper devices, handheld devices, that smaller processors could utilise to also determine the amount of fat in a carcass. That's just the carcass composition part of the story. At the same time, we're working on predicting traits that will tell you about eating quality of the meat that they contain. So there's a number of different devices that we're working on. A lot of them are focused on intramuscular fat percentage. That's a key thing that makes meat taste good. And some of those technologies are simple imaging devices, so they'll scan the cut surface of the loin muscle, for example, and work out how much marbling is within it, all the way through to much fancier devices that either insert probes into the meat or even create a magnetic field around it and therefore don't penetrate the carcass at all, but can interpret the amount of intramuscular fat within it. The best way of making sure that the research that we're doing is applicable to industry is to actually go and work with industry themselves. So to be honest, we don't actually do that much research within the lab. We tend to do a lot of research with, I guess, industry collaborators. So we would go to farms, and we would go to processing plants, and we would actually work within those businesses on the technologies that we're developing. It's a really crucial thing. It does a few things. We get a handle on what the businesses themselves demand and what's going to make them money. It also keeps it real. You get a feel for what will actually work in that business and what to bother investing your research effort on. We've been able to model the economic output from the ARMTech project, and our current estimate from ARMTech 1 is that we, by 2040, will have generated as much as $510 million extra for the beef, lamb and the pork industries. I think Murdoch is becoming one of the go-to locations for working up technologies and adapting it to the Australian livestock industries. I'd say we're close to the top of the list for those that international companies want to collaborate with. You could call this the Silicon Valley of the farming industry. Certainly the key focus of this whole ARMTech project has been all around developing technologies and accelerating the pace at which that's been happening.